privilege to be in this position, to be able to address you and hopefully make some sort of a contribution. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about myself. When I was born, my father was already totally incapacitated, and this had many disadvantages for my mother and myself, but it had one singular advantage for me, because Dad was in a very heavy wheelchair. And as soon as I was about 6 or 7, I started pushing the wheelchair around the suburban streets. And I think that indirectly helped me become a first-class AFL footballer. So, Dad, all the times that I pushed you in the wheelchair, which I hated at the time, but in retrospect, when Dad died at 14, I had some small inkling of that sort of indirect, unanticipated contribution. And it sort of proves to me in retrospect the great significance of physical education, physical activity, from the moment that really the child is conceived in the womb, right through, and I'm now 79, right through the average life expectancy now of a baby born in Australia is 95. I don't know whether I'll reach 95 or not, but it's certainly some sort of an objective. And I've just so enjoyed this Congress. I think it's been fantastic. Richard Bailey this morning was sensational. The contribution of our friends from Nike, the contribution of John Marsden from Liverpool, all the things that are happening there. Boy, how would it be if this beautiful city could also become an active city? Maybe a resolution of this Congress could be that this beautiful place can apply to over to Liverpool and see if they can also be an active city, because I think that is truly a wonderful thing. One of the first things I will do when I go home is to ring the Lord Mayor of Melbourne, who's a personal friend of mine and former politician in the same party as me, so that gives you some sort of inside advantage, is to ask him to see if we can become one of the pilot cities under the banner and using the knowledge and experience of Liverpool. And I commend that step to you all. I think what has happened there is just fantastic. As I said, my dad indirectly helped me, but I became a football player for the AFL. And in Australia, that is quite a piece of fame. It's a little bit like, not as big as a soccer player, but it's in Australia, it's even more so than the soccer player in Australia. But that's changing, and I would have more to say about that in another time. But in the midst of this career of mine with football, and I was also lecturing in economics at Melbourne University, I put my hand up to become a politician. And I was fortunately successful, and I began my political career in 1964. I served 9 years on the backbench, and then I came into the ministry, and my ministries were education, health, community welfare services, housing, and perhaps most importantly from the point of view of this Congress, youth, sport and recreation. So I wanted to know where was the best place to go to find out how to improve the sport and recreation of the community of Victoria and indirectly the community of Australia. And the answer was Jürgen Palm in Germany. So I sent one of my people to visit Jürgen Palm, and Jürgen gave him a lot of advice, and the advice was so good I invited Jürgen to come to Australia, and we set up a tour in Australia for Jürgen to talk to us about trim and fitness as it was then known. And out of that, and I had some experts put their heads together, out of that came the campaign of Life Be In It. And Life Be In It has become it's still known by 75% of Australian people, and they understand the message, and the message is move. Because the champion of Life Be In It was a great big fellow called Norm, and all Norm did was to sit on his chair and flick his switch to change the channel on the TV. And occasionally he would walk 10 steps to turn the TV off, but that was what he was asked to do. And of course you can guess what else he should have been asked to do. But we are going to introduce in Australia a new campaign called Wake Up Australia, and the launch will be in February of next year. And I want to say a few words about this. Australia has been known as one of the most sporting, athletic, beach-loving. Oh, and I apologise for no PowerPoint. I'm really sorry, but I didn't have time to prepare one. Australia has been known as one of the most sporting, athletic, beach-loving, healthiest nations on earth. Like a lot of populations, WHO has decided we are kidding ourselves. Australia is now the best in the world at getting cancer. We are in the top 6 in the world per head of population at getting fat, developing obesity, diabetes and heart attacks. And in fact, the latest statistics show obesity has replaced smoking as our #1 killer. I'll say it again. Obesity has replaced smoking as our #1 killer. We, along with many, many people on earth, sit in front of our screens, our computers, our iPads, our TV sets, sitting down and lying down for 90% of our lives. We eat more and more food that has been interfered with by human beings for commercial gain. We are surrounded by processed, refined plastic foods stamped with a use-by date that live on shelves in supermarkets. This food is further away from natural than a rocket ship. Many of us and our children can't cope with the expectations of the Western world success which surrounds us, and the negative stress everywhere destroys our immune system. The bottom line is this: as role models, we are killing our kids. The blame game. Who's to blame? Whose fault is it? Is it the food manufacturers, or the technologists, or the automatic machines, or the marketing marvels, the parents, the governments, or the kids themselves? Is it time to stand in front of a mirror, take all of our clothes off and ask why? What has happened? Every decade after the age of 25, 7 pounds of working muscles disappears. I'll say that again. Every decade after the age of 25, 7 pounds of working muscle disappears. Every decade after the age of 15, a minimum of 7 extra pounds of fat appears and creates blockages in our very important blood vessels, damaging working tissues and vital organs. My international medical doctor friend, and John and I are the 2 people behind the new Wake Up Australia campaign. John tells us that we are awake for 238 half hours every week. Most of us haven't got the self-management skills to identify 6 of these 238 half hours each week in our diaries, to take ourselves for a brisk walk. And congratulations to Hungary for understanding the significance of physical education and making it compulsory in our schools. If only the world would do something similar, our capacity to enjoy life would be dramatically increased. In February, we are launching Wake Up Australia, and will change the plan of life for some good. Wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and do something. Develop some won't power. I won't make weak excuses. Just do my 6 half hours out of every 238. Put it in my diary. I won't eat 43 of the 50 fries the restaurant served to me. I'll just do 7. I won't keep my stress machine going full blast 24/7. I will get out of the pressure cooker. 3 deep breaths. Do some stairs. You know, Carmel and I are very lucky. We live in a house with 14 steps, and we run up and down those 14 steps about 100 times a day. It's almost as good as the 1-hour walk that we do in the morning, but it's not as good, because the walk's in a beautiful place called Jamison, which is at 250k from Melbourne. It's surrounded by forests and trees, and our 60 minutes, 10 minutes of that 60 minutes is spent climbing almost the steepest hill you've ever seen, apart from Mount Everest. So we get this physical activity every day in the walk, and we get the physical activity in our own house, because I'm always running up and down the stairs when Carmel wants something. She was always leaving things behind. She can't answer me back. 3 deep breaths, do some stairs, have half a glass of water after the 8 by backwards shoulder rolls. And Carmel, I must say, she does her 15-minute exercise every morning. Doesn't matter what happens, that exercise program gets done. Plan our day, plan our next 3-day break. We must have a break from this pressure cooker life that we lead and the 1%ers. Drink half a glass of water each hour and do 8 backward shoulder rolls. And John Tickell, Professor Dr. John Tickell and I look forward to being able to bring you success stories from the Wake Up Australia program. This includes the ACE plan of activity, of coping and of eating. We are in the process of convincing our various governments in Australia to be convinced to support Wake Up Australia. And if Wake Up Australia is successful, why not Wake Up America? Why not Wake Up Asia? Why not Wake Up Europe? Why not Wake Up the world? And that, of course, is what this conference has been all about, trying to find out ways and means to make physical activity to deserve the priority in our education system, in our health system, in our infrastructure system, to get the priority that it deserves. And I think this has been a fantastic congress to help us on that way. You know, these congresses started in, what was it, Peter? 1967 or 69, the first one that Jürgen organised? Which year was it, do you remember? Bonn. Was it Bonn or? Huh? No. It was way back in, the first one that I went to was, I think, 75, and then they've been, but no, Jürgen had one before that. You don't remember, it doesn't matter. But we started off with conferences which happened every 2 years, and they were just conferences, and we would all talk to each other about what we were doing, and then run away, and sometimes it would infiltrate to what we were doing at home, but not always. So we had the bright idea in Aurelia in 1989 to form an organisation, and out of that came the organisation of TAFISA and also ASFAR, which is the Asian and Oceania counterpart of TAFISA. So in 1991, both of those organisations were formed, and now look at the way that TAFISA is being able to develop today. Fantastic. You know, on our way here, Carmel and we sat for 23 hours in a plane to get here, and then we sat another 16 hours in airports waiting for planes to come and go. So anyway, we read the newspapers. Article 1 in the Pakistan Khaleej Times. Running for a cause. Participants of a race trying to reach finishing point during a marathon in Hyderabad on Monday for awareness of arthritis. And what a fantastic thing, all of these huge running events. I founded the Melbourne Marathon in 1978, and now our Melbourne Marathon is about the 4th or 5th biggest in the world, and we contribute enormous amounts of money to various charities. So that's fantastic, I think. Number 2, I just got this out of the, what's the name of this paper? This is called The Gulf News, and it says, go green, eat green, get healthier with a planned diet. And then Carmel told me that she'd been to another lecture here in the last day or so, and she said, it's very important, Brian, that you stress that you don't eat one piece of fruit, you eat 5 types of fruit, but not as much. And when you put the 5 types of fruit together, you have a much better chance of your indigestion system working appropriately and support the physical activity that you undertake. So get healthier with a planned diet. I got 1 minute, fantastic. Run to the line. British economist Dixon wins the Nobel Prize. And what is it exactly that Mr. Dixon is saying to win a Nobel Prize? Good news for tall people. He led a study that found tall people are likely to be happier, have more income and education. Have you seen a lot of tall people around in this country? I've seen lots of tall people around this country. There is good evidence that cognitive and physical function develop together. Lack of full cognitive development accounts for lower levels of education and lower earnings in adulthood. The key sentence, as far as we're concerned, is there is good evidence that cognitive and physical function develop together. And of course this is what is being said in Liverpool and what's being said in this Congress. But it's nice to see the Nobel Prize winner saying this and being recognised worldwide. And finally, this of course is a wonderful paper. This is the Times. And the Times has to say we should be taxing fizzy drinks. Why should we tax fizzy drinks? Because the fizz in the drink doesn't do us any good. Today the House of Commons Public Health Committee will start its inquiry into childhood obesity and how to tackle it. It does so against a backdrop of 1 in 5 children aged 10 and 11 is obese, a number which has tripled in the past 25 years. Britain has one of the highest obesity rates in Europe, and the World Obesity Forum has calculated that by 2025, 3/4 of the adult population will be overweight or obese. Diet, exercise and genetics all play a part. However, there's no doubt that one of the problems is excess sugar consumption, and taxing fizzy drinks laden with sugar may be a solution. So isn't it interesting, in an aeroplane you can read all these papers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. If I can answer any good questions.